All right, let's dive right into Casa Academy, Chapter 4, Part 3. Today we're unpacking authorized relationships, duties, and disclosures. Getting these foundational concepts locked down is absolutely vital, not just for crushing your state exam, but for protecting yourself out there in the field every single day.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're hitting 4 key areas today: understanding non-representation, real-world applications, brokerage disclosure rules, and finally, navigating in-house transactions.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, non-representation and understanding the basics. Under a no-brokerage relationship, you, the licensee, simply do not represent either party in the transaction. And because of that, your legal responsibilities and your liability drop significantly. Now, you won't see this used everywhere in the real estate world, but some brokerages actually prefer this specific business model precisely because it drastically minimizes the liability they have to take on.
Notice the terminology shift here, because it's a real game changer. When you're operating in a no-brokerage relationship, buyers and sellers are referred to exclusively as customers, rather than principals. That simple word swap reflects the very limited duties you owe them.
Moving right along to Section 2, applications and real-world scenarios.
There are 2 main scenarios where utilizing a no-brokerage relationship really makes the most practical sense. Let's break those down.
Scenario 1 is a limited service listing. This is where a seller pays a reduced or flat fee just to get their property entered into the multiple listing service. But here's the catch: they aren't hiring you for full representation. Since they literally just want MLS entry, a no-brokerage relationship perfectly matches that limited scope of work.
Scenario 2 involves a for sale by owner, or FSBO. Say you bring a buyer who wants to purchase an FSBO property. You represent that buyer, sure, but the seller didn't hire you. Even if that unrepresented seller agrees to pay you a reduced commission for bringing them a buyer, you do not represent them. So, legally speaking, a no-brokerage relationship is exactly where you stand with that seller.
Next up is Section 3, disclosure rules and brokerage requirements. Oh, and before we look at the exact rules, your verification code is 659885. Let's talk about Florida's Brokerage Relationship Disclosure Act. This is huge. Under Florida law, you are automatically presumed to be operating as a transaction broker. That is the default setting, and that presumption stays in place unless you explicitly establish another authorized relationship in writing.
So when do you actually need to provide disclosures? Well, if you're going to work as a single agent or under that no brokerage relationship we just talked about, you have to make that disclosure in writing. And it has to happen before you begin work with the buyer or seller. Now, definitely highlight this next point for your exam. When you're in a no brokerage relationship, you must provide the required duties in writing, but the customer doesn't actually have to sign it. On the flip side, the transition to transaction brokerage disclosure, that one absolutely must be signed by the principal. Don't mix those up.
Let's wrap things up with Section 4, in-house transactions and navigating the rules. First, what exactly does this mean? An in-house transaction happens when one licensee in a brokerage works with a seller, and another licensee in that exact same brokerage works with a buyer on the very same property. Since everybody is operating under the same broker, we have to tread really carefully to avoid breaking Florida law. Some combinations are fine, but others are totally illegal.
Let's walk through these combos. Agent 1 is a single agent for the seller and Agent 2 is a single agent for the buyer. That is a hard no. It creates illegal dual agency. What if Agent 1 is a single agent and Agent 2 is a transaction broker? Still a no. It's still illegal dual agency. But if Agent 1 is a single agent and Agent 2 operates with a no brokerage relationship, that is totally allowed. And finally, both agents acting as transaction brokers? Yep, perfectly legal. Basically, any mix that results in dual agency is strictly prohibited.
Let's ground this with an example straight from the course text. Imagine pulling a transaction file. Let's say file number 357778. If you look at the paperwork and see one agent working as a single agent and the other working as a transaction broker, you've just uncovered an impermissible setup. That is a textbook illegal dual agency situation in Florida.
Now, let's look at one of those permitted combinations again. Mixing a single agent with a no brokerage relationship is perfectly fine. Why? Because the broker is acting as a single agent for only one party, while the other party gets zero representation from the brokerage. So there's absolutely no conflict of loyalty.
And of course, having both agents in the brokerage act as transaction brokers is completely allowed.
Honestly, this is the most common situation you're going to see in Florida real estate. Like we covered earlier, transaction brokerage is the presumed default, which makes in-house deals run super smoothly.
To bring it all together for this explainer, a no-brokerage relationship limits your duties to customers, not principals. It always requires a written disclosure up front, but again, the customer's signature is optional. Remember that Florida defaults to a transaction brokerage relationship. And finally, always double-check those in-house combinations to dodge illegal dual agency. Knowing these exact legal boundaries is absolutely crucial for protecting your license and thriving out in the real world. So, the next time you walk into your brokerage, ask yourself, do you truly know where your legal loyalties lie on every single transaction?